Your spiritual level, when, let's say for instance a woman that only has arousal periodically, that means her spiritual level drop, and not until it can come up to a certain height will she be aroused. But as soon as that level of spirituality drops, she not aroused no more. That's because she's naturally, innately a spiritual person. Yes, an unworthy man will definitely cause pain in a worthy woman, but most of the time, she probably started off as equal to him, and she continued to do the self-work, and he didn't, and it became painful. I'm going to get into the tumors in 1 second. Yep, and endometriosis. Okay, the tumors, what they call fibroids or fibroid growths. If they're non-cancerous fibroid growth, that's just like a skin tag. And because of the energy type and the location of the uterus, the body is deceived into thinking it's pregnant and feeds nutrition and spirit energy to the tumor. But there's a chemical in the tumor that is sending the signal to the woman's uterus as if she's pregnant, but she's not. But it's not giving her the full pregnancy symptom or signal, or else it would stop her cycle. So it's just enough, like a birth control pill, it's just enough to stop you from making the egg. The tumor, probably producing a different chemical, give you just enough to allow the body to grow the tumor without interrupting the cycle. Because you have different chemicals involved in the cycle. The endometriosis, the endometriosis is most of them, not all of them, but most of them come from a reckless man trying his best to hurt a woman so he can hear her moan during sex, and he's penetrating recklessly and in a way that causes her to bruise somewhere. The bruising, the body sends blood to the bruised area. Again, you are in the area of reproduction. So as you grow the lining in the uterus wall, and you done been misused between your legs, and you got bruises in places, your body has to send blood there. So you end up with endometriosis or inflamed endometrium. The lining of the uterus becomes inflamed. But your doctors also do it too. They put chemicals in there that'll inflame it if they want to give you a hysterectomy, the same as they give you cancer. But the natural development of endometriosis is pretty rare, where the man is pounding on the woman. He had to be pretty reckless. And some women like it like that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
I can hear you. Okay, so one of the people in the live chat says, how do you bring a family back together when the big mama is gone?
When Big Mama leaves, she leaves a successor. She can't leave without leaving somebody to be the Big Mama. The problem is most of us don't like who she picked, because they don't like nobody telling them the raw, uncut truth. And that's what Big Mama gonna do. She gonna tell you to get your stinking ass up and go get in the shower. Your feet stink, nigga. Right? And they not gonna like that. But Big Mama gonna talk to him like that because that's who she is. That's how she moves. She don't sugarcoat shit just to make you comfortable. She tell it to you in the harshest way so you'll know that you don't want her to tell you next time.
So for the people who don't know, I know a lot of people listen to your lives, but for the people who don't know, can you actually explain who and what Big Mama actually is and why we call her Big Mama?
Okay, so if you go to Egypt and you look in the Parthenon of Isis or the Temple of Isis in Dendora, you see this star zodiac in the ceiling. As you zoom in to the center, you're going to see what's known as Tawaret. She is the zootype of a hippopotamus, and she got in one hand, she got a big ass meat cleaver. All right. The energy that comes from the center of the universe is her energy. Right. As prime creator, we call her Big Mama. because when we have a Big Mama on Earth, she represents that energy. She behaves according to the energy that the universe operates from. She don't behave on what our hopes, wishes, and desires is. She's true to self and true to nature. So the prime creator is Big Mama. And we call our representatives or the head of the families in the matriarchy Big Mama. And then all of the Big Mamas get together and they form a council of elders. And they become the lawmakers. So they collectively harness more Big Mama energy or prime creator energy than anybody else because they are tuned in from their life lessons to the frequency. So they can, it's like your ancestors. Your ancestors talk to you through children and elders. They don't talk to you through somebody living in the humdrum of life because they can't hear them. So when we say Big Mama and Big Mama energy, we're talking prime creator and prime creative energies.
So with that being said, I remember I asked you this question prior in another live, to be able to distinguish the difference between the concept of Big Mama and the concept of non-ether. Can you just give just a brief explanation of that for the listeners?
So we call prime creator Big Mama. Non-ether is the energy she used to create dark matter, which is pure Big Mama energy. So when we talking non-ether, this is what we're talking about. The highest expression of all creative forces rolled into one, non-ether. And it's reflected on the earth by the lowest frequency to maintain the holographic matrix of 6 ether.
So we always been taught that you have 9 ether, 6 ether, and 3 ether, right? And relative to the physical, 9 ether beings was considered dark-skinned woolly haired people or the black or brown race. And the 6 ether and the 3 ether represented the pale and albino races. How true is that in relation to the knowledge that you know about 9 ether, 6 ether, and 3 ether?
I'm not familiar with the 3 ether. I know that the 6 ether, as Pops explained it, 6 ether in death becomes ghost, right? And ghost is going back to prime source, the back way, the bottom way. Whereas 9 ether is going to source out the top. That's why they got us disoriented. South is up, north is down, but they told us it's the other way around.
Right. Now I made a PowerPoint a while back about that. And I made a video about 2 years ago about it, breaking it down from a thermodynamic perspective. I'm showing everybody the thermodynamic process of 9 ether going from 9 to 6 and 6 to 3, 3 back to 6 and 6 back to 9. So I follow you.
Mm-hmm. So the paradigm of 369 is predicated upon a 3-sided pyramid. And the 3-sided pyramid, it's the pyramid means fire in the middle. So the 3-sided pyramid becomes the agency by which you harness the what they call the creative fires or the creative energies, which is again dark matter, unseen energy, and you're able to utilize it to effectuate all type of alchemical processes in varying different things. So you take a dull razor blade and you set it under a small pyramid, and next thing you know, it's sharp for no reason.
That's interesting. So when we talk about numerology numbers, right? We see that there was a video that I watched on Nikola Tesla, and he was breaking down certain numbers that had basically various influences on the universe, and he used 369. What are the relevance to those 3 numbers as it relates to the universe?
The 369 is the creative potentialities. It starts with the 3. Remember, 2 or more gathered together in my name, there I am also. If 2 gathered together and I am there also, it'd be number 3.
Right.
Right. So now, if you're building a pyramid with 3 sides, you got I am there also 3 times with the 3 then the 6, then the 9. So now you got triple creative potentialities converging at the center of the pyramid, which generates the fire in the middle.
Okay. That's pretty much what the video is explaining, but they just went a little bit more in depth, and they was just showing like when you add these numbers from the top to the bottom, you know, it all comes back to 9, and pretty much the narrative was that 9 was the highest number in mathematics.
It is. In Egypt, they don't count from 1 to 9. They count from 9 to 1. But over here, well, they actually count from 10 to 1. 10 being the highest expression of alpha meeting omega, the unity of the beginning and the ending. It's represented by the serpent with the tail in his mouth.
Okay. So let's go here with it then. All right. So when you start talking about the origin, structure, and evolution of the universe, they always name a prime mover. Would that prime mover be Big Mama?
That's Big Mama energy.
Okay. And
it's called, in modern science, it's called prima mater. If you look at the word prima mater, it really translates from Latin to English as the prime mother.
Right, because matter does mean mother in etymology.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they actually trying to convey by using the terminology prime mother? I mean, not prime mother, I'm sorry. Prime mover.
They're just trying to talk over your head with double talk, because we know that the prime mover is the prime mother.
Right.
So if the source don't say it, it don't move.
Okay. So if we look at the fact that the sisters, or, you know, are supposed to be in the position of actually like ruling and building the council, but when we look in history, men have pretty much overthrown them. In what way, when the matriarchal society rises like completely, can we make sure, or is there a way that we can make sure that that doesn't happen?
Well, the only reason why it happened because of what Bobby Hemming liked to call the great debauchery, when they created some synthetic humans that were sentient. And that violated galactic law because they had no right of ascension.
Okay. What does right of ascension represent?
Your ability to traverse higher realms of consciousness. What used to happen with them is they would have a neurological shutdown whenever the sacred secretion began to rise. It caused strokes, and it caused them to end up like Stephen Hawkins. If their thoughts get too powerful, their body starts to suffer because they are genetically engineered to die before they ever reach God status.
Okay. So, explain right of ascension.
The right of ascension is one of the earth rights, right? And the women have always been in charge of the earth rights. And it's your right to be unrestricted in your spiritual development in the free will universe. It's a right. It's not a privilege. So when you deprive somebody of the right to ascend and they sentient, then you acting as what we would call in modern terminologies as devil.
Okay. That's deep, because now it's almost like saying that everything has its proper place and position. And when you're moving contrary to that, for one, it's going to disrupt the harmony of it all, but it's also going to actually put you in a certain level, or put you on a certain level, I should say, that gives you pretty much a bad disposition.
Right. So when we talk about earth rights, right, that's the right to do what's necessary for the maintenance of the land, the air, and the water, which we call the Great Law. And that right falls to the women first, because Earth is a feminine planet. Had we been on Mars, patriarchy would have been the order. We're not on Mars. We on Earth.
Okay. So would you say that that's coming more sooner than later as far as this re-erection of the matriarchal society, or we still have a long way to go?
It's happening in real time. Most people not even seeing it because they're too caught up in the humdrum of go to work, send the kids to school, come home, cook dinner, and go to bed. They can't see shit. Their life is going by in a blur. They doing the same thing today that they was doing on this day 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's why they teach you to follow habits, so that you won't be able to innovate on anything new, because you fall into that into a cycle, and that cycle is what locks you into the slavery. It's all systematically designed that way.
So what qualities do we need to look for in the system to notice that they have what it takes to be in that position? Because I'm pretty sure that everyone may not, fit the criteria.
Most loved, most respected is the standard. The sister that's most loved and respected by the most women around the world is the highest ranked woman on the planet.
I remember you said you referred to Farrakhan's wife, who presently holds those qualities.
Yep, she is the most loved, most respected out of all of the women leaders she met around the world. They all loved her and respected her more than they did each other.
Do you think that that's due to Farrakhan being Farrakhan, or her blazing her own path?
That's like saying what came first, the chicken or the egg. They can listen. When they went to Claire got to get a juice to at that time her name is Betsy Ross.
Right.
She got to give her the juice. The only way she gonna give her the juice is if she give her the righteous name. The righteous name is Khadijah. Her name is not Khadijah Farrakhan, it's Khadijah Muhammad.
Right.
Farrakhan name is Farrakhan Muhammad. Right? But we tend to call her Khadijah Farrakhan and call him Louis Farrakhan. That's because we don't know who they is.
Okay.
In Egypt, Farrakhan was known as the Pharaoh A', who was the interim leader when King Tut was assassinated.
Okay. So back to Egypt, this is another question I've been asked for you to expound on. Why did the Egyptians put different animals' heads to represent different gods and goddesses? Like, what does those animals have in common with those energies of those deities?
Every tribe have a totem animal that represents their clan. So let's say over here you see a totem pole, you see mostly animals on it. Those are the totem animal of each tribe that's on that pole. That's who's in this area. The totem animal just tells you whose turn it is to rule.
Okay. So the Egyptians use a plethora of different animals. They use frogs, they use
all
lions.
of those clans have ruled already. It's only one left. The last one to rise to power, you don't see him in the hieroglyphics. And that's the gorilla.
Who is that?
The gorilla.
Okay, and why is that?
Because it's time to rule hadn't came yet. It just now got here.
So what intellectually speaking was it that created that representation for the deities?
The zoo type?
The who?
What do you mean, what do you mean by representation of the deities?
Okay, so the goddess Sekhmet had a lion head or a lioness head. Mm-hmm. Why did they associate the lion with her, but they associated the ibis bird with Thoth or Tahuti?
So the lioness, you study the lion and you understand why she's represented as the lioness. The Sekhmet position is the next one of the Sibyls in line to become the queen of heaven and earth. Okay. Right? So she'll be Sekhmet until the rule of the former Osset has been exhausted or depleted. And then the Sekhmet is the next in line. So it's a priesthood under Sekhmet. It's a priesthood under Bast. Bast fall under Sekhmet. Bast is represented by the Black Panther, a cat. And also the house cats, which is the familiars of those who come from the house of the feline. Feline means feminine line, meaning the mother line of rulership on earth. Tahuti having the Hebrews head is because the way that the bird, when he's looking for his food, it appears to be studying. So the bird, the Benu bird that studies, became synonymous with the man who studied out of the bird clans, right? And there's all kind of bird clans: hawks, falcons, eagles, condors, vultures. They all have a different expression, but they all fall under Tahuti as the feathered serpents.
So what should the brothers be doing right now? Us as the men, what should we be doing right now?
Everybody got to do what they feel in their heart they're driven to do. For somebody to tell you what you should be doing, that means that you don't know who you are yet.
Right.
So the first order of business is to study self. Find out who you are. Look for yourself in everything you read and write.
Okay. So the reason why, well, I'm guessing this now. One of the brothers asked that is maybe because there may be some specific things. Of course, we know, the shadow work has to be done, but maybe some other things that they, I guess, hadn't yet come to the realization that, the brothers should actually be doing to put themselves in a better position.
Well, a couple of things you should be doing: clean your filters, your liver, kidneys, your lymphatic system. They got herbs that do all of that stuff. Anybody that work in most health food stores, when you ask them what clean the liver, they're gonna say burdock root, dandelion leaf, milk thistle are the best, right? And that's the beginning. Then you need a heavy metal cleanse, because the soft metals, aluminum, iron, and whatnot, they contaminate the system, and they causes a misfiring in the nerves. A buildup of metals in the brain can give you a stroke.
So, are there any specific natural herbs that you could give the brothers and sisters that that may actually help to do all these things?
Well, I just told you, burdock root, milk thistle, and dandelion cleans the liver. Then you can use what's the name of this? Green algae and cilantro to get the heavy metals out. One of them is a flush. That means they get it all up. And the other one is a binder in order to excrete it. It's so many supplements. I got a herbalist, Doc Pitt, on Facebook. I refer all the people that ask me, so he can give them something based on having a conversation with them that's geared more specifically to what their current issue is. We also need to learn how to take spiritual baths, which is a constant spiritual cleansing process. Baptism was not a once in a lifetime or once a year thing. It was a daily ritual of bathing, right? Anointing and baptism is two different things.
Okay. So one of the questions in the chat says, is sitting in silence for an hour a day good for shadow work?
Can you read that again?
Is sitting with yourself in silence 1 hour a day good for shadow work?
That's part of it. But while you sitting in solitude, you have to look at the stuff you don't like in other people and make sure that's not part of who you are. Because those are things we normally condemn in other people first. The things that we do that we don't like in ourselves, we'll see them easier in another person.
Right. So I don't know whose name this is, but uric acid cleanse. At first it says an uric acid cleanse can help clear up kidneys and urinary tracts.
I'm not familiar with the boric acid cleanse, so I don't want to speak.
Uric, not boric, uric.
Spell it.
Uric acid, I thought was in urine.
It is. It is. Well, they do have people who drink their own urine for health purposes. I'm not one of them, but they do have people that do that. And that is an ancient practice.
Okay, so as far as like with the children, right?
Mm-hmm.
The best way to get the children, because I know a lot of the sisters and brothers do have children. I even know a lot of single dads is literally taking care of their child by themselves without even the mother in some cases. But what way should we be dialoguing with the children? What way can we actually prepare the children for the upcoming events and how things are happening for us?
The children need to prepare the adults. They ready. We ain't.
Explain that.
They born ready. They born into these children that's being born now ain't like we was. They are being born with a higher sense of self than any of us had born before 2000. All these babies born after 2000 is on another level. And if you pay attention when you're looking at TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, the most comprehensive or the most easily to comprehend information is coming from the youth. I got young brothers listening to me, and then they go back and explain it to their peers, and they understand it perfectly fine. But you got adults talking about that nigga crazy, right? Because the adults can't grasp those new concepts as well as the youth.
Yeah, it's like I see how youth help us so much because they're born in this technological scientific day and age, and it's like they're like super advanced.
Yeah, well, you look at the average 1 or 2 year old know how to work your tablet. They know how to work your phone probably better than you.
Yeah,
right. So they already born adapted to the environment that we created before they came. The goal is to start moving to an environment with the children in mind. That's matriarchy. The patriarchy don't have the children in mind first. And the patriarchy, the man is the sole focal point.
Okay, so moving with the children in mind. That means what exactly?
All of the social constructs that we fought against for the last couple hundred years, the children should not have to fight those social constructs. We as adults now, we the elders now, so it's our job to initiate the changing in the construct so that the children can have the best possible future before them. And then we raise the children by showing them what we're doing to give them their best life in the future. Right? Because the children of the future, the adults already had their horizon, son. Especially when you get 30, 40 years old, whatever you ain't done and accomplished by then, if you better get on the ball, you can get left behind.
That's absolutely correct. So financially speaking, you were saying before that basically all these banks and stuff are going to collapse. And so, people are still chasing the almighty dollar. What are we supposed to be doing in relation to the financial aspect? Because it takes finances to be able to feed your family, to take care of our women, our children, etc.
Okay, so first thing is, if the banks collapse, what's going to happen to the money?
Okay, the money is going to be no good.
The wealth's still going to be here, but the money going to be gone. So we need restructure to be recipients of the wealth that the banks can no longer process. So we have to learn family banking. And
what does family banking?
Excuse me?
What does family banking tell?
That's how to run your own bank. So you becoming like the big mom in your family is going to be the CEO of the family bank. And this is going to lead to what we call the eldest female that's most loved and respected by the entire family is the big mom. And it's her job to go and assess the skill sets of the people in the family to find out who's financially literate. Because we can't compete with centralized banking when all of the centralized banks is in the hand of less than 1% of the population of the planet. We always at their mercy. The only way to combat that or to counter that is to go to family banks and decentralize banking. To do away with fractional reserve banking that is ran off debt. by keeping you in debt, they keeping you in slavery because debt equals slavery. So the family banking is everybody learning how to handle wealth and how to distribute it among the family according to their merit.
So what will wealth look like in a society or an environment like that?
It's gonna look like everybody rich.
He says, "Gonna look like everybody rich." Okay. So we have another question here. Do you think that we will ever get to the point to where we can? I think you already touched on that, where we can communicate without actually using the spoken word.
We already can. We already touched on that.
Yeah, that's what I said when I read that. Another thing is, will babies be? Will there be a need to actually?
Now, we will all be looking all over the earth and we might say Mecca or Jerusalem or South Africa or South America, Central America, North America. We gonna find the most holiest place on earth. And we gonna all have these different opinions until you bring one thing up. And that one thing is this. The most sacred thing is the only thing that can generate life. It can cultivate the creation of life within itself. The most sacred place on earth is the place where God essence trickles down from higher dimensional realms into the 3D and brings us what we call sentient life. Whether it's a squirrel, whether it's an elephant, a bird, it doesn't matter. Okay, now I'm getting advice. It doesn't matter. The most sacred place on earth is the only way we can get life into the earth realm. So that will automatically tell you that the most sacred place on earth would have to be the woman's womb. So why would they, make sure y'all share. Make sure y'all share. Especially to the women. Because when you get to understand why they have you using the uterus unnecessarily, it will make you talk to the other sisters in order that they understand, don't be hasty to remove it. Because the portal of life, there's only one way. There's only one entrance. There's a whole lot of exits, but it's only one entrance into life on earth for something that lives, and that's through the uterus. The uterus is carried in sacred symbols all over the world, and we warned about the respect of the woman's uterus by men and women. When you see the first major assault on the uterus before they started the mass hysterectomy campaign, they started poisoning tampons, giving women a condition called toxic shock syndrome, and it was killing them. Because you're not supposed to, for extended periods of time, hold the flow. Some women leave their tampons in for a whole day before they change it. and they don't go into the bathroom and allow nature to run its course and allow their body to breathe. That's not my place to teach y'all about that. That's y'all place to teach the inexperienced body experience. But there's certain things that they tell you when they want to remove your uterus. Now, all of this desecration of the woman in the feminine anatomy is reflected as desecration of holy sites in real time, or in what you call a sacred site. Now, when we say sacred, it don't just mean like religious oriented spiritual, it just means a very important location. As you see, the World Trade Center is a very important location, and because so many people congregated there, it created what you call an energy center. The purpose of their congregating there was to move finance, trade, and so the energy that congregated there was reflective of trade. You tell me, Indian, I'm just delivering the message. If you see the elders, then you see the elders. And so, all of these earth sites are desecrated for a reason according to a ritual purpose. So, hey, how you doing, Jimmy? So, we got bad news. You have a precancerous growth. Now, what do that mean? It's not cancer is what it means. That means that your body decided to grow something to alert you to something. Now, when the woman's spiritual essence is aligned and her physical body is healthy, she don't have uterus problems. They can't exist. Because the uterus is daily drawing in. When the woman is lined up, as I say, the way of the woman, when she lined up with the queen of heaven and earth, she can't get sick. Her uterus can't malfunction. It can't grow a glitch. You can't have a fibroid. You can't have a cyst in your uterus because there's too much healing energy running through the organ. Before the close of the age, which the age is closed, they wanted to have as many women uterusless as possible because the work required to reestablish the energy grid in the body of a woman without a uterus is intensive and is slow and it's frustrating. It's frustrating to the point where most women won't be able to accomplish it because they don't have the support system necessary to follow through with the necessary practice. Now, most women that get a hysterectomy, the first thing to go is sex drive because there's no natural function taking place in the uterus to stimulate the rest of her vagina in order to keep it healthy and functioning healthy. Therefore, it sends a signal to the brain that say, hey, my camera is not smudged. I watched it 1,000 times on another video. That's something else you're looking at. That's not the camera. That's what you call ether. Looking at ether. I'm talking to you from a higher place. Because I have to be guided by the queen of heaven and earth in order to get a correct understanding of why they want women to be without their uterus or without their memory glands at this time. And so she gotta make sure that if the energy really comes across on the camera, then I'm in the light under this situation like this. And she wants this to get across. So now, that's going to scare the hell out of 90% of people that hear it. It's going to scare the hell out of them. Fear is the mechanism of the control. When the fear set in, it sends you to a mild state of panic or an extreme state of panic, but nevertheless the panic is there, which confuses the decision-making process because you've never trained to make correct decisions under the pressure of drama. And the other thing that they tell you is you have a fibroid. It's not cancerous, but it's going to continue to grow. And as it continues to grow, it's going to cause problems, so you're going to have to just take the videos out. Now, you have other ones that they tell you literally cure. And if you talk properly as early as possible, then you're going to have none of those problems from anything that you're not doing correctly physically. The only thing you have to do is to balance your emotions so that the God force can come through the uterus and engulf your body. Once the women start understanding this, they'll stop getting physically brutal. They have to start forming the sister groups where they sit around and talk about opening the portal of life with the intent of filling the room with what they call the Holy Spirit, which is the direct energy from the Queen of Heaven and Earth, what we call it the love of the divine. He will drive a weak man totally insane and make him dive off a bridge. For real. He has to train himself mentally, physically, and emotionally before he can assimilate that energy, or you will go fucking nuts. And so they take that out, and they never tell you that there's a method that they teach in the East that will help you reorient your energy, because the energy body is still there. Just like when somebody get a leg or arm amputated and they have what you call fractured limb syndrome. That means they can still feel the limb even though it's not there. The reason why they can still feel the limb is because the energy grid that the DNA is projecting is still there. So the science of it is, by meditation or practice, you need to reorient the energy grid, awaken the energy grid in your physical body from the higher chakras up. You respect the energy grid as if the organ is still there. Now, as you start to reorient the energy grid of the uterus, what will then start to take place is you will start to receive your drive for sexual function back. You're going to need a release, but it needs to be done in a particular manner. But only the deal I can tell you about it, I can't get into the intimate details of it right now. But the deal is supposed to teach this to the women that go through the hysterectomies, the ones that they snatch their quarter of life out. Now, there's something that you do when you hide. It's called jumping. And it works like this. When you put the group of women together, and you have one that had a hysterectomy, her energy grid is broken at the uterus, which is actually your second chakra. If you look it up on your chakra system. Well, the other women will tie an older woman to a prepubescent woman or girl uterus, so that when her uterus functions, it's functioning for both of them. And they all do is use the manpower. But once they open up, once the group of women understand that they're opening up a direct contact to the Queen of Heaven and Earth, she's going to instruct them personally what moves to make in that state. Like, I don't always know what I'm supposed to tell people. But she said, prepare not what you will say, for at that very moment the Holy Ghost will rise up and speak through you. So when I say this is the topic, I don't know which one of the references I'm going to pull up to give you. Because I might talk about the same topic 10 times and give you a different reference every time. Because it has to come from a higher place. This can't come from my opinions, nothing that my ego can hold or tie down. So in order to get the information across, when y'all put them women in that group, hide, make it a conscious decision that all of y'all generate an energy field of the Holy Spirit, what they call the mastermind group. See, they've been using it in secret behind y'all back. They've been using it in secret behind y'all back, using harlots to bring in the unholy ghost. I'm telling you what they've been doing. We have to flip the grid. And I'm giving y'all as much as I can give y'all as the time go on, but we're running out of time because other people don't want to make the move so we can go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up. So I have to start telling y'all, all of the women, no men allowed inside the group while y'all hiding. It will throw the energy off and somebody can physically get hurt from the energy being thrown off by male energy being interjected into a hiding group of women, including male children that
That means daddy got to take his son while mama and her sisters go hide. They have to sit there and they have to feel the Holy Ghost energy coming in. This is why they have you holding hands in church. It's practice for now. It's practice. They don't do it in the Catholic Church because it's not a Catholic rite. It's African and Native in origin. The holding hands is not a Christian thing. That's not part. Go look in the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is where Christianity comes from. They don't do holding up the hands. You have a portal, a positive and a negative portal in each one of your hands. Depending on the left hand or the right hand and how they flip your brain. So those joining the hands is opening up the energy to go through everybody in the room. They got y'all doing it, but they're not telling y'all what's the purpose, so you can't harness the energy correctly to use it correctly. It's basic energy conservation in physics. Now, why are they having these women unnecessarily remove the mammary gland? It's psychological, which affects you emotionally, which brings your spiritual vibration low. Right? So it affects her mind, body, morphism. They call it body dysmorphism. How you see your body. When the woman doesn't have her adornment as a woman that she once seen, and this is why everybody have a different proportion. Some women are bigger than other women in the breast. This is the law of nature. It's called the law of variance. It's the same thing, but in different degrees. And so, the woman gets used to seeing herself in her most beautiful form, having her mammary glands intact. Now they're telling you because you have what they call a lump, you need to have your breast removed. Never telling you that your milk ducts are part of your lymphatic system, and your lymphatic system gets clogged up, and the body has to move. They restrict your bosom with a bra. They have you put the bra on to hold it in place. But they never tell you by holding it in place, you cause your lymphatic gland in your mouth to become stagnant. You need the movement. So